Good afternoon. We will soon start with the session 1, which is introductory session to the official ceremony. Before we start, please use the Slido and put there the region that you are coming from, so we will have the view which regions are participating here today. Also, during the session, during the speeches, you will be able, via Slido, to pose the questions. They will not be visible during the speech, but we will get them at the end, so then we can address the speakers after that. Well, we can start, and today we will discuss a very important topic, which is like security and cooperation, and how this is influencing, like boosting the cooperation, fostering across the border, but at the same time ensuring the security. In these days, this is really delicate and really important. I'm really pleased that we have this evening speakers with us today. We have the Karl-Heinz Lamberts, the President of Association of European Border Regions with us. Sigmund Brett Bako, State Secretary of Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development of Norway. Ivan Eriksson, State Secretary of the Ministry of Justice and the Public Security of Norway, and Jelena Drenjanin, Chair of the Governance Committee of Congress of Local Regional Authorities of Council of Europe. Thank you very much for being today with us. Let's start with the first speech. It's my pleasure to invite Mr. Lamberts to take the floor and speak about the impact of different views on cooperation and security in the European border regions. Mr. Lamberts, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And it works?
Yes.
Okay. And to bring a little bit diversity in this discussion, I will make my speech in German so everyone can appreciate the high quality of our interpreters. Wenn man die Begriffe Sicherheit und Zusammenarbeit hört und das auf den europäischen Kontext anwendet, dann hat man auf den ersten Blick den Eindruck, dass diese beiden Dinge überhaupt nicht zusammenpassen. In der Tat, the interpretation doesn't work. Yes, it was just the microphone in the interpretation place. Zweiter Versuch. Wenn man die Begriffe Sicherheit und Zusammenarbeit in einem europäischen Kontext anwenden will, dann hat man zuerst den Eindruck, da gibt es einen Riesenkonflikt. Das eine schließt das andere sozusagen aus. Europa, das heißt ja vor allem mehr Integration, mehr Zusammenarbeit, mehr offene Grenzen und das auf einem Kontinent, der trotz seiner Kleinheit, wir sind der zweitkleinste Kontinent nach Australien, für diejenigen, die das noch nicht in Erinnerung haben oder nicht mehr in Erinnerung haben, auf diesem kleinen Kontinent besteht weltweit die höchste Dichte an Staatsgrenzen. Und wenn man da Zusammenhalt und Zusammenarbeit zustande bringen will, dann müssen diese Grenzen überwunden werden. Wenn man aber dann mit Sicherheitsfragen zu tun hat, dann gibt es einen uneingeschränkt vorzufindenden Reflex der Staaten, sobald ein Problem der Sicherheit auftaucht, gibt es den Grenzschließungsreflex und die Grenzen werden zugemacht. Egal, ob das jetzt Sinn macht oder unsinnig ist, das ist etwas, was unmittelbar geschieht. Wir erleben jetzt dieser Tage wieder in großem Ausmaße. Doch stimmt das wirklich? Sind diese beiden Begriffe unvereinbar? Sind es Gegensätze? Wenn man den Dingen auf den Grund geht, dann kann man auch eine andere Analyse an den Tag bringen. Zuerst muss man mal klar sagen, worum geht es bei Sicherheit? Da geht es um Fakten aber da geht es vor allem um Gefühle. Unsicherheit gibt es natürlich auch materiell, aber die politisch gefährlichste Unsicherheit ist die in den Köpfen der Menschen besteht und die manchmal überhaupt nichts mit Fakten, zumindest mit real erlebbaren oder erlebten Fakten zu tun hat. Und deshalb ist das Sicherheitsthema auch so wichtig. Die gesamte Flut an Populismus, die wir in Europa und weltweit erleben, man braucht sich bloß den amerikanischen Wahlkampf ein bisschen anzuschauen, hat damit zu tun, dass die Menschen verunsichert sind, dass sie Ängste haben und sie bringen das immer mit irgendeiner Gefahr in Verbindung. Und wenn man dem Thema wirklich auf den Grund gehen will, dann darf man sich auch nicht darauf beschränken, zu schauen, wo denn irgendwelche Menschen physisch angegriffen oder mit Waffen bedroht oder sogar getötet werden. Dann muss man alle anderen Lebensbereiche mit einbauen, zum Beispiel die Cybersicherheit, zum Beispiel auch die soziale Sicherheit, die Sicherheit, ein Leben hinzubekommen, wo am Ende des Monats auch noch genügend Geld da ist, um alles zu bezahlen, was man braucht. All das kommt zusammen. Und deshalb ist Sicherheit aus meiner tiefen Überzeugung, auch nach einem halben Jahrhundert politischer Erfahrung, zurzeit und vielleicht sogar überhaupt das wichtigste Thema, das es überhaupt geben kann. Demokratie, Menschenrechte, all das kann man nur umsetzen, wenn die Menschen sich sicher fühlen. Also muss man dafür sorgen, dass Sicherheit da ist. In der Wirklichkeit und auch in den Köpfen und Herzen der Menschen. Und das wiederum geht nur durch Kooperation. Heute kann niemand mehr sich so einigeln, dass er für sich alleine seiner Bevölkerung die Sicherheit in einer globalisierten Welt gewährleisten kann. Also auch beim Zustandekommen von Sicherheit und beim Bekämpfen der Ursachen von Unsicherheit kommt es ganz entscheidend auf Zusammenarbeit an. Und diese Zusammenarbeit ist natürlich gerade in Sicherheitsfragen sehr oft eine Zusammenarbeit, die Grenzen überschreitet und bei denen der Begriff der Grenze sowieso eine ganz große Rolle spielt. Überhaupt ist der Begriff der Grenze etwas eigentlich Beeindruckendes, Fantastisches. Es gibt keine wissenschaftliche Disziplin, in der man sich nicht mit Grenzen auseinandersetzen muss. Das gilt natürlich für die Geografie, das ist evident, das gilt für die Politik, das gilt aber auch für die Nanotechnologie, für die Astronomie, für die Philosophie, für die Psychologie. Es gibt Menschen, die brauchen zum Klären ihrer eigenen persönlichen Grenzen ein Leben lang einen Psychiater und kommen dann doch nicht am Ende zu Potte. Das ist ein universelles Thema, diese Grenzen. Und deshalb hat es auch so eine große Bedeutung. Und grenzüberschreitende Zusammenarbeit ist ja eigentlich die Möglichkeit, wirklich den Dingen auf den Grund zu gehen und Ursachen zu beseitigen, indem man richtig zusammenarbeitet. Oder indem man da, wo auch Grenzen klar gestaltet werden müssen, diese dann gemeinsam gestaltet. Und das sind die großen Herausforderungen unserer Zeit. Unser Thema hier jetzt heute und morgen wird dazu sicherlich viele Beiträge leisten können. Zusammenarbeit setzt immer voraus, dass man zuerst die bestehenden Grenzen erkennt. Wer eine Grenze nicht erkennt, der nimmt sich sehr schnell eine blutige Nase. Zweitens muss man die Grenzen anerkennen, akzeptieren. Das ist ganz wichtig. Wenn da eine Grenze ist und niemand ist bereit, das zur Kenntnis zu nehmen, dann gibt es Konflikte. Und der dritte, der schwierigste Schritt ist natürlich dann der, aber auch derjenige, der absolut notwendig ist, das ist der Schritt, die Grenze zu überwinden. Und das setzt sehr viel langfristige Arbeit voraus. Das ist selten etwas, was man innerhalb von 10 Minuten hinbekommt. Und das ist etwas, was vor allem damit zu tun hat, dass man die Situation auf den beiden Seiten der Grenzen, um die es da geht, genau kennt und versteht. Und dazu bedarf es dann sehr oft auch einer sehr hohen interkulturellen Kommunikationskompetenz, wie man das nennen kann. Man muss verstehen, wie der Nachbar funktioniert, wie er organisiert ist. Am besten sollte man seine Sprache auch verstehen und sprechen. Und man muss vor allem bereit sein, dann zur Zusammenarbeit. Und ich bin fest davon überzeugt, dass die Zukunft Europas, egal ob ich jetzt die Europäische Union oder den Europarat nehme, der da ja eine noch faszinierendere Kulisse an Vielfalt hat, egal welches Europa ich da nehme, es muss erfolgreich zusammengearbeitet werden, um die Gefahren, die wir im Bereich der Sicherheit erleben, auszuschalten und um die Probleme und Hindernisse, die da sind, zu überwinden. Das ist der Sinn grenzüberschreitender Zusammenarbeit. Die wird niemals zu Ende sein, denn Grenzen bestehen auf absehbare Zeit weiter und Vielfalt ist übrigens etwas, was man nur erlebt, wenn Grenzen sind, wenn Unterschiede da sind. Und ein Unterschied ist immer etwas, was sich an einer Grenze bemerkbar macht. Also ist das für alle Mitarbeiterinnen und Mitarbeiter der grenzüberschreitenden Zusammenarbeit eigentlich eine sehr beruhigende Angelegenheit. Sie werden niemals ihren Job verlieren, denn je mehr Probleme gelöst werden, desto mehr neue entstehen, wenn mehr Kommunikation da ist. Deshalb das habe ich ja schon oft erzählt, aber da das ja eben meine letzte Anwesenheit als Präsident der AG hier ist, kann ich das nochmal erzählen. Auf dem Gebiet haben die grenzüberschreitenden Mitarbeiterinnen und Mitarbeiter viel gemeinsam mit Totengräbern und Friseuren. Beiden gehen die Kunden nie aus. Vielen Dank.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lammers, for these insightful remarks. Well, for sure, we will all have the jobs in the foreseen future, but I hope that we will deal with not really difficulties of crossing the borders, but more like tuning the European integration. Well, it would be very interesting now to see how the Ministry of Local Governments and Regional Development from Norway see the questions of the cooperation and security, and I would like to invite Ms. Pretsbenko to have a speech. You are free to take the floor.
I will have to see if it works, because I'm not very tall and handsome.
Oh,
I think I
if you prefer, you can be there.
No, we have tested. It didn't work, yeah. Good day, everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation to Trysil and this annual event of the Association of European Border Regions. I was introduced. My name is Sigrun Pressbakmo, and I'm a state secretary in the Norwegian Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. And I will use this opportunity to share with you some of our experiences on cross-border collaboration, both in the Nordic region and with other European regions, to strengthen our preparedness and ability to handle crisis. We have experienced now what happens when a crisis hits and the borders close. Probably a distant scenario for most European countries before the pandemic. Sadly, we all quickly learned that it became a reality and collaboration froze. Here in the municipality of Trysil, which normally is a vibrant and busy ski resort and tourist destination with many foreign visitors and a large portion of Swedish workers, you can imagine that the impact of the close Norwegian-Swedish border were major and severe. In a border region like this, which have had a completely open border for decades, the daily life for the inhabitants were affected. Families residing on both sides were temporarily separated almost overnight. And the COVID-19 pandemic is behind us. The borders are open, and both European and Nordic cooperation is back to where it was. And in some areas, we even collaborate more and closer than before. However, something has changed. We know now that events such as a pandemic or a critical security situation are likely to happen again. We now live in a more unpredictable world, and we must be prepared so that similar situations do not paralyze our societies. With Sweden and Finland as new NATO members, we quickly started several cross-border initiatives to strengthen both military and civil preparedness in the Nordic countries. Closer cooperation between our countries can contribute to a more coordinated and effective response to potential threats. Joint exercises and resource sharing will strengthen our overall defense capability. And the Arctic Challenge exercise is an example of how we work and collaborate. Such exercises can be expanded and intensified to ensure that we are as well prepared as possible for any threat situation. Closer Nordic defense cooperation also means more activity across borders. We must therefore have a capacity to quickly move personnel and equipment between our countries. This presents some challenges that we must solve together. We are taking several steps to improve our common capacity on highway, railway, and seaway to enhance our preparedness and ability to handle potential crises and threats. Working groups have been established at both the ministry and directorate levels to strengthen Nordic cooperation on civil preparedness in the transport sector. This work includes harmonizing regulations and standards, joint prioritization of transport routes, alerting and information sharing, among other things. On April the 3rd, 2024, the three Nordic transport ministers, Nygaard from Norway, Karlsson from Sweden, and Ranne from Finland, issued a joint statement, which, among other things, stated that the three ministers will, 1, strengthen cooperation to support military mobility between the countries, 2, consider developing a Nordic strategy for the long-term development of cross-border connections based on each country's strategic transport plans. And the third point, ensure that all actors from strategic to operational levels cooperate and exercise regularly. Nordic defense cooperation also creates opportunities for businesses across the borders, with good help of European cross-border initiatives, COMSEC. COMSEC is an exciting project in the Interreg program Sweden-Norway, where several defense industry companies and development actors in central Norway and central Sweden will collaborate to strengthen the region's total defense and create business opportunities for the defense industry in the border region. Border areas can play a key role in handling crises, such as natural disasters, pandemics, and other emergencies. By developing joint preparedness plans and sharing resources, we can ensure a rapid and effective response. A concrete example in the cooperation between Norwegian and Swedish rescue services in border areas, where they share equipment and expertise to handle forest fires and other natural disasters. That's one concrete example. The pandemic and close borders between us taught us a lot about the need for cooperation and coordination in the Nordic region. We saw how closed borders affected both our economics and our societies. This underscores the need to have flexible and adaptable plans that can be activated in times of crisis. For example, many cross-border commuters experienced significant challenges when the borders were closed, naturally, affecting both the labor market and local communities. By establishing clear communication channels and cooperation structures across borders, we can avoid similar situations in the future. This includes sharing information and resources, as well as coordinating measures and ambitions. We can also learn from success stories, such as the Nordic Health Preparedness Cooperation, where countries shared medical equipment and expertise to handle the pandemic. Naturally, our cross-border collaboration is mainly Nordic, but with substantial support from EU initiatives within the regional policy, such as Interreg. We have a long history with participating in Interreg since 1996. It is fair to say that we consider it to be a natural and integrated part of our regional and rural policy. Interreg provides a unique and efficient arena where businesses, educational institutions, research environments, regional and local authorities in border areas can cooperate on, amongst other things, sustainable transport solutions, new health services, nature and environmental management, and as mentioned, innovation in the defense industry. Furthermore, through Interreg, we have been able to expand our collaboration beyond the Nordics. We are collaborating actively within the Baltic Sea region and the North Sea region, and we enjoy access to other Interreg regional initiatives, such as Association of European Border Regions. In connection with the ongoing consultation on the future of Interreg, we have asked the participating regions in Norway to forward their suggestions and plans for the coming Interreg programming period. We have so far experienced that they show great interest and engagement in how they can use the Interreg programs to solve current and relevant issues in their border regions. And we will then summarize and assess the suggestions and inputs and forward our opinion later this fall. One comment was, however, the need to closer cooperation on preparedness and resilience. To summarize, cross-border collaboration in border areas play a crucial role in strengthening both our preparedness and resilience, while it also promotes regional and local development and possibilities. By cooperating across borders, we can ensure a safer and more sustainable future for our border regions. So let us all work together and strengthen our border areas and ensure a safer future for all European countries and border regions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Predbenko, for your speech and also stressing the importance of the Interreg program in the Nordic countries. This is very nice and important. And now I have the opportunity to invite Mr. Eriksson to give us the overview from the point of view of the Ministry of the Justice and Public Security in Norway. The floor is yours if you prefer the stage.
I'm a little taller than you, Sigrun, so I will give this a try. Mr. President, colleagues, dear friends, guten Tag. My name is Even Eriksson, and I'm State Secretary in the Ministry of Justice and Public Security. Thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak about security, cooperation, and resilience in a regional perspective. These are all important issues central to our work at the Ministry of Justice and Public Security, and have become even more so during the last years. The extraordinary efforts of that Ukraine has been able to make in order to withstand the Russian invasion has clearly shown that resilience and civil preparedness must be integral parts of our societies, in local communities, in regions, in governments, and between nations. The threats to our societies, be they from cross-border criminal activities, climate changes, third countries, or other factors, can only be fully addressed through cooperation at all levels and across borders. In light of this, I am happy that these topics are on the agenda for the Association of European Border Regions. We must work together to ensure security and prosperity, as my colleague said. A natural place for me to start when considering security in a cross-border perspective is with our border to Russia. In the years after the end of the Cold War, cooperation between regions and communities on both sides of the border was encouraged. This led, amongst other things, to the implementation of an agreement between Norway and Russia on a local border traffic regime based on EU law. The aim of this was not only to encourage economic growth on both sides of the border, but also to reduce political tension by establishing and re-establishing social connections across the border in a region where cross-border traffic historically has been the norm. As you can imagine, the situation is now totally different. Due to Russia's war of aggression and the common European sanctions imposed, the cross-border traffic at the only border crossing point between Norway and Russia, Storskog as it is called, is now strongly reduced. For now, formal cross-border cooperation between Norwegian and Russian authorities is limited to what is strictly necessary to maintain security at the land border and at sea. It is difficult to foresee when and if the cross-border cooperation with Russia will return. This put an even stronger emphasis on cross-border cooperation between our European and Nordic regions. The Nordic countries cooperate under the vision that the Nordic region shall be the most sustained and integrated in the world. I'm proud of this goal. This vision departs from a strong foundation and also applies to border management and police cooperation. The Nordic borders have been open to travel without passports since 1954, and integration that was continued as the Nordic countries joined Schengen. However, the principle of free movement within the Schengen area has in recent years faced challenges by several factors, including secondary movement of migrants and the movement across internal borders by people that represent a threat to our internal security, or in our case, also the energy security of Europe. The Nordic countries has therefore been among those with a long-standing control at internal borders. That being said, we have tried to minimize the effect on cross-border travelers by limiting the internal border control to ferries. By checking passenger lists, the police are only checking travelers physically when deemed necessary. This means that the impact on cross-border travelers is minimized. Russia's attack on Ukraine and use of migrants to undermine the security of neighboring countries and the worsening security situation following the crisis in the Middle East has underlined the need for us to know who crosses our borders and are present in our territories. Measures are also in place to minimize the negative impact on cross-border traffic of controls at internal borders, but building on the strong tradition of an open Nordic, I believe it is imperative we find a way to ensure that people can move freely between our nations in spite of the emerging threats to our society. To achieve this, we must ensure that we have all that we have a strong external border control and that the police has the best possible tools to cooperate and operate across borders. But as an integrated Nordic region, I believe we should have an even higher ambition for our cooperation. In 2018, the Nordic Ministers of Justice declared the intent of developing agreements in order to expand the Nordic police cooperation. Since then, Norway and Sweden have signed an agreement on cooperation between our special intervention units. Our aim is to expand the cooperation under this agreement to encompass all Nordic countries. The Norwegian Ministry of Justice and Public Security has therefore tasked the Police Directorate to reach out to our Nordic neighbors with a request to draft a Nordic agreement on cooperation between special intervention units. These units represent capacities that are highly specialized and scarce. It would be highly beneficial if a threat or a crisis in one of Nordic countries could be met with a common Nordic response. Furthermore, a joint police station at the border between Norway and Sweden will open next summer. With a Swedish and Norwegian police working shoulder by shoulder, it can serve as a hub for the cooperation in the border areas. We have also started working on a general agreement on enhanced police cooperation between Norway and Sweden. Our aim in this respect should be that criminals should not be able to benefit from crossing the border. I hope the process on this agreement can serve as a point of departure for agreements with our other Nordic neighbors. With these measures, an even stronger police cooperation should then serve as a key instrument to support the vision of the Nordic as the most sustained and integrated region in the world, and to ensure that the controls we currently experience at our borders can be relegated to the past. Even though it is not directly related to security management, let me also briefly mention the Pact on Migration and Asylum in the EU. A well-functioning migration system with elements such as screening at the external borders and improved Eurodac database and clearer rules on responsibility and procedures may prevent irregular secondary movements and give us a better idea on who is on our territories. I'm therefore hopeful that the pact may contribute positively to the security in our region. The government is also working on different measures in regard of increasing our resilience and civil preparedness. Among the measures to address the changing and demanding security landscape is the establishment of a mobile phone-based population alert system in Norway. The emergency alert system will be used to notify the public in the event of serious and emergency incidents that involve a threat to health, life and health. Emergency alerts can be sent locally, regionally, nationally, based on the need. This will boost our national security and preparedness, and due to the system being based on cell broadcast technology, it will also provide added security for cross-border workers and tourists, as they also will receive a relevant emergency alert on their phones. Finally, dear friends, I should mention that from the beginning that Trysil is my hometown, and the place where me and my family live, just a couple of kilometers over the valley floor. But I grew up in east in the municipality, 10 kilometers from the Swedish border. When I grew up, we often ate dinner in Sweden. I remember I always liked the Swedish sweets better. So my family, we drew often over the border. A part of my family lived there, and I have never thought about the border issues because, for me, the border has never existed. This is a value you cannot put a price tag on. So, finally, therefore, the Association of European Border Regions must continue your work to tear down physical and psychological borders inside Europe. I wish you the best of luck for your work in the time to come. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Mr. Eriksen, for your valuable insights. Well, for sure, the cooperation is essential for ensuring the security. This is what is actually we want to address at this session. And now I would like to invite Mr. Renani to take the floor and share with us the views of Congress of Local and Regional Authorities.
Thank you very much. And it's always hard to be the last one, and so many wise things have been said. Thank you for inviting me and the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities. The Congress and AEBR have worked together to promote decentralized cross-border cooperation for many years. And such cooperation has been supported by the European regions in addressing multiple challenges, but also fostering stronger neighborhoodly relations, and notably through capacity building. And I think you all mentioned how important that is. Usually I end with the takeaway messages. This time I will start with the takeaway messages to the border regions, and then why you will hear. The first one is to promote a multi-level governance, especially dialogue between central and regional authorities, as well as horizontal decentralized cross-border cooperation. And I think the State Secretary here had very good example from recently developing cooperation, both to fight criminals, but also with the geopolitical situation. To continue also to work on harmonizing the legal frameworks of providing for horizontal subsidiarity and transfer of competences and resources to transfrontier cooperation bodies. And I think that's a very crucial thing also in this view. But strengthening the capacity building and training of relevant actors is ongoing, but the situation also shows that we have to be faster in identifying who new ones are, because we have rapid change of situations. To reinforce also interinstitutional synergies for the transfrontier cooperation. We also need to support coordinated and cooperative cross-border responses to current and emerging challenges. And that's by strengthening preparedness and resilience. And many of the speakers today have mentioned some. And we have to enhance partnership with Ukrainian regions. And I think we are, but we can still do that, because the results are not too positive. Anyway, we have seen several situations now where central governments have pursued policies of isolation and confrontation with neighbors against the interests and positions of the neighboring regions during the pandemic or in situation of other security threats. And for instance, several European countries have reintroduced temporary border controls in the Schengen area, and in general the regions are in favor of more pragmatic and balanced mechanisms that encourage horizontal cross-border cooperation solutions. I can just mention Norway and Denmark. They have changed some of the way how they work, because there have been a lot of criminals in Sweden that are trying to gain other areas. So that's one example that's very alarming. Excessive centralization in times of crisis can be counterproductive and last for too long. So I think it's important to evaluate it all the time. And by respecting the principle of subsidiarity and transferring resources from national state to regional and local can make us societies less vulnerable and more resilient. So decentralized cross-border cooperation is essential for territorial development and territorial cohesion on our continent. And the aim is more effective management and communities to reduce disparities between the territories. I don't know, as many of you have mentioned, that we face like a European identity crisis. It's important also to emphasize the need of respect and promote the common values and standards of human rights, democracy, and rule of law. And I think this cross-border cooperation will strengthen those values. But Europe faces many common challenges in these areas too. And as was mentioned before, these challenges, they don't stop at borders. So security in Europe depends on good neighborly relations between border regions, and a secure Europe can only be achieved through cooperation. Over the past decades, a number of changes and developments have significantly had impact on the European region. That's including the Russian Federation war of aggression against Ukraine. We have increased number of terrorist attacks, COVID-19 pandemic, democratic backsliding, deeper social and economic inequalities, the accelerated pace of climate change, and more frequent natural disasters. And we know that they don't stop at borders. They don't know borders. The Russian war of aggression against Ukraine has caused huge humanitarian crisis with massive loss of innocent lives, widespread injury and human suffering, and millions of displaced people. It has led to widespread destruction of vital infrastructure, caused lasting damage to environment. Also, we see intensified cyber attacks on critical infrastructure and disrupted the global food production system. So for more than 2.5 years now, Ukrainians have bravely defended their freedom in the country, and local and regional authorities play a central role in this resilience. And I am quite sure that the work Ukrainians did before the aggression with building strong local and regional management has made them resist Russians in a way that has been shown. So to overcome these challenges, we need more cooperation and coordination, and we have to see national borders as an obstacle. And there are situations like now with the criminality in Sweden that's expanding to Norway and Denmark. Measures had to be taken, but also, I hope, evaluated in time. Also, cross-border regional cooperation in support of Ukraine and its local and regional authorities has been widely praised. And the Congress support a further strengthening of cross-border cooperation and partnerships with Ukraine. We have also environmental changes that we also have to work, and the Congress also promotes the development of human rights-centered and sustainable smart cities and regions, as well as circular economy practices. So we have several reports on these matters. The current situation requires also a transition to the new paradigm of energy and resource management. And here I think absolutely that the local and regional authorities can play a crucial role and set examples. More also should be done to strengthen policies and capacities against hate speech and fake news. New digital and artificial intelligence technologies can be used to harm our democracy, but also remedy to current challenges. The Council of Europe have recently adopted the first ever convention on artificial intelligence to safeguard human rights and address the threats and risks posed by artificial intelligence. When its adequate legal standards are also essential to enable effective cross-border cooperation between regions and how to overcome asymmetry in the European legal framework for cross-border cooperation. However, not all Council of Europe member states have ratified the Madrid Convention and its additional protocols, which provide a legal basis for cooperation agreements between border regions in Europe. Today, the Madrid Convention has been ratified by 39 of the 46 member states of the Council of Europe and signed by 2 others. It would therefore be welcome if the remaining member states were accede to this convention and the protocol. I would also like to mention the reference framework for regional democracy, which is a non-binding legal instrument, but nevertheless a code of rights, of duties, and of regional entities which promote international interregional cooperation. In addition to common legal standards, cross-border cooperation also requires qualified professionals who can bridge the gap between different national systems. Insufficient knowledge and understanding of the political and administrative systems of the neighboring countries is a common problem in border regions. In this respect, capacity building efforts need to be intensified, including binational and bicultural cross-border training courses. In this way, decentralized cross-border cooperation can be sustainable in the longer term. Also, interinstitutional cooperation serves to strengthen decentralized cross-border cooperation in the face of new challenges. The Strasbourg Declaration, signed 2021 by Association of European Border Regions, EU, and the Central European Services for Cross-Border Initiatives, and the Mission Opérationnelle Transfrontière under the auspices of the Congress, is one example of such cooperation agreements. With this declaration, the 3 signatories have declared the intention to strengthen the cooperation in order to promote the well-being of citizens living in the border regions. So, the work of your organization plays a crucial role in providing a platform for dialogue, but also diplomacy when it comes to developments in the European border region. Highlight that this event is the best example of this, and today we are actively practicing decentralized diplomacy by interacting in a wide range of stakeholders, exchanging ideas and good practices, and seeking solutions to common challenges. So, by actively using and engaging in this format, we all make a vital contribution to sustaining and promoting regional cross-border cooperation. So, take this opportunity also to congratulate the association for the great work that has been done for more than half a century, and also underline that the Congress considered this organization as a valuable partner. So thank you very much for inviting us and being a part of this.
Thank you, Ms. Drenin, for your speech, and especially mentioning the Madrid Outline Convention and inviting all the members actually to signing and ratifying, especially the 3rd protocol that will make easier the cross-border cooperation in the border regions. We can open the floor now for the questions. You are invited to write them in the Slido, but we already have some too. What is the strategy of the AEBR in the ongoing debate about the cohesion policy in the EU? Mr. Lamberts, would you like to answer?
Yes, I'm convinced that that is one of the most urgent issues we have to solve at the moment. And it will not be easy. Why? Cohesion policy is one of the most important policies managed by the EU, but it is under pressure. Why? All things are under pressure in the EU. It is the same for agriculture, but also for other issues. And there are new challenges, important new challenges. One of them were mentioned now, defense, enlargement, technology. If you read Letta's or Draghi's report, you have a roadmap. And the consequences of these things is that even if money is not all, nothing works without money. And Draghi is very clear but the most important reactions were we will not give more money for the European Union. You must know that the costs of the Union are the price of 1 cup of coffee per day per inhabitant. The absolute amount is important, but you must see what it means. And then you can discuss, is it an Italian or a Vienna coffee? That is another thing, or a Norwegian one. But it is clear that we cannot resolve all the problems with the money we have now. And if there is not enough money, everyone is looking for the places where money is. And cohesion policy is under pressure because if there is something to do in Europe, the first reaction of the Commission is, or some people in the Commission, but not, but very important persons, even the most important, is to have a look at cohesion. Ah, there is some non-used money, we will bring it to other things. And a second aspect is when prime ministers are together and they discuss, then they are very strong for saying, we have to decide. And cohesion policy is something that is not only decided by the national governments, but it is a multi-level aspect of decision-making, and it is a place where regions and local authorities have a very strong position. And so you can have a coalition between national states and some forces in the Commission that bring us to a diminution of cohesion policy means, and that is a great risk, especially when you have a look to what was said by von der Leyen in the perspective of her politics. She wants to reduce the number of programs and to give one amount to each country, and then it is the country who has to decide what happens with it. It's a little simplification, but something like this is mentioned in some papers. And there we must be really attentive, and we must react. It is important to react because cohesion policy is one of the most important aspects of the European Union. It is a kind of DNA of the Union. Cohesion is the European Union, and cohesion must be managed also on the ground by regions and territorial authorities. And for this we have to fight and to bring good arguments, and especially territorial cohesion, where Interreg is a very important part. We have to defend it, and we have good arguments, especially B-solutions and all things that was said. The importance of borders is so clear now that you cannot come with a proposal, but we will reduce the financial means we have. So that we have good arguments, but we must be very attentive, and it will not come from alone.
It's a connected question from the audience, what the members of the AEBR can do to support.
I am not alone here. The best thing we can do is to have a common strategy. Each border region is a little bit isolated if you have only a look on the local situation. But if our border regions, with this high density I spoke about, of national borders, come together and work together, then it can be powerful. And that is one of the reasons we have the Cohesion Alliance in the field of the Committee of the Regions, and we have to discuss also with other states not member of the EU but associated like Norway or Switzerland, it is very, very important to make a common action, and the borders are a very good example. But we must create pressure. My experience, half a century in politics, is if you don't make pressure, you will never arrive to a result, even if you have the best idea in the world.
And if I,
yes, please.
I can add, I agree with Mr. Lambert, and I think that at the local and regional level, we have to be more work together and make one strong voice in developing with the cohesion policy, because we can see so many good examples when it works and what difference it makes for regions, especially also cross borders. So I think that in the past couple of years, I think also that there are work between different associations to strengthen the local and regional level. And there is another part that I think is very, they don't talk about much, but everybody's talking about that the democracy is backsliding, and people feel that decisions are made too far away from them. And if national politicians or in the European Union would work together closely with local and regional politicians, I think also we're closest to the citizens and closest to the problem, because if there's a flood, people are not going to call the government, they're going to call the closest politicians to solve problems, and the municipality and region is administrating the help that's coming in or whatever and handling it. So if we want to rebuild trust in our system and democracy, there is only one way, and that's to involve and listen to the local and regional level, because the way we are now, authoritarian countries like China and Russia, young people today, when they did an test in Sweden, and how did young people feel about democracy? Did they want one strong leader, or the majority wanted one strong leader? So hey, listen, that's alarm clock. And Sweden is a developed country that had democracy forever. So I think the local and regional level is a clue to regain both the strength in this cooperation, but also for democracy and for the trust in our democratic system. And who's going to defend the borders, and who's going to do the help when we have, if the citizens think that nobody's helping me out, why should I? I'm going to take care of myself. So it's a give and take. Therefore the work that's been done in this should continue and find strong partners, I would say.
Thank you. To continue on that from the both secretaries, I think this is the question addressing to you. How does the NATO membership of Sweden and Finland affect cross-border cooperation with Norway?
I can start.
I can start, and Sigrun can add with all her knowledge to my poor answer. The short answer is it is very important and very good thing. Not only in regard of military cooperation, but also in regard of civil preparedness to build resilience in the public across the border. Because we have a security scale, we have when our nation is not in war, when it is in a war, and it's a very broad scale. And when it's not a war, it is the civil side of the authorities that must ensure security. One of the key words is hybrid warfare. That is a very common term in Europe these days. For instance, digital cyber attacks, instrumentalization of migrants, which our good neighbor Finland recently have experienced from Russia. This is hybrid warfare. It's not war. The military has not the responsibility. It is the civil side. So when also we can have a closer military cooperation, we can also have a closer civil cooperation. And one instance is, for example, our cooperation with the Finnish authorities at the border in north is very good. And we share experience, information about the situation as we see it and as the Finnish government see it. So it is very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a few extra points. We need to continue to build these trustful and long-term commitments and agreements between the border regions, revolving around our communities, our businesses, and our local authorities. Because the core of resilience is the population. And there we have this common interest in strengthening the communities in the border. And in the Norwegian politics, we see a strengthened focus in the East-West topic, for example, in transportation politics. Some new thoughts. Originally, we focused on the north-south corridor, but now we are adjusting the transport politics to also the new NATO memberships. But we have, as I said, a common interest in the population in the border regions, and I think that's the core of the politics.
Yep.
And, if I can add one very good example of what Sigrun is talking about is the new project that the regional Swedish authorities are working on in regard of establish a railway between Sälen and Trysil. That I think is a very interesting thought, and I hope that the authorities in Norway and Sweden are considering it, also in cooperation with the EU funds, which is good for the military transportation and environment and tourists.
Yeah, as well. No, thank you very much. I think we have some more questions, but we are running out of the time. We will slowly transit now to the second panel, which will have more view of how practitioners are seeing the cooperation and security. And we will have just short 5 minutes break for change the panelists. Thank you very much for all the speakers.